What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Late Night. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Moff Rissman. What's going on, brother?
Hello, how are you?
I think I scared some people with that last video, and I totally didn't mean to do that.
How do you mean like you're retiring or what?
Yeah, people are like, I guess the channel's just gonna be done now. I'm like, no, man, read the description.
Yeah, I know.
God.
Well, I'm telling people, it's like he's not retiring. I mean, what?
No, I'm not retiring. I turned 31 in 4 days. I'm not retiring yet. Okay.
If between the two of us, anyone should be retiring, it should be me, right?
Right. Yeah, you're the one who does all the work anyways. I just sit here and yell at a camera all day. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Andor because we're right on the cusp of it. I mean, August is right around the corner. And I hate to say it, but I have hope for this show. I said it before Kenobi. I said people are going to have problems with Kenobi and they're going to like Andor. Bottom line, hard stop. I've been saying it for a long time. People didn't believe me. They're like, no, Kenobi's going to hit, Andor's going to suck. And then it's almost like I'm a Vulcan mind meld. Oh my God, I knew what was coming.
But for me, I have been looking forward to Andor since they announced it. How many years ago has it been, right? It's been...
That's just because you're a whore for Empire stuff, though.
Yes, but I mean, it's like, we all, not all of us, but many of us have loved Rogue One, right? Because they did a great job with it.
That was, I think, a lot of people's favorite Disney project regarding Star Wars was definitely Rogue One. Yeah.
Tony Gilroy, and they came in and they did their thing or whatever. And so after that, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna have to do a series and this, that, and the other. And it's literally been.
Yeah, when did Rogue One come out? Ages ago. It's
3 years ago at least now.
But a lot of people are saying, like, who gives a shit about Cassian Andor? And the bottom line is, I don't think a lot of people care about Cassian Andor, to be honest with you. But I don't think that's why people are going to watch the show. I don't think Cassian Andor really has much to do with why people are going to watch the show.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the greater narrative.
I don't give two shits about Cassian Andor either, by the way.
Yeah.
And all mad respect to Diego Luna. And I'm sure we'll show the video, right? I mean, because he loves the franchise. So I have nothing against Diego Luna, right? But the story of this series is the rise of the rebellion, or for me, it's the Empire, right? Coming into their being, right? And doing the things, getting to the point where we hate them. Right, the same as what's happening now with Bad Batch season 2, right? They're kind of colliding from a time frame standpoint. So for me, I'm like, okay, sure, please. Yes.
Yeah, I'm down with it, man. And yeah, there's a greater narrative that goes along with Mon Mothma and the birth of the rebellion and stuff like that. A lot of people have been crying for what we got when it comes to the end of The Force Unleashed, where we see the birth of the rebellion, really. And I think this show is probably going to focus on that pretty centrally. And there's a lot to unpack in that statement because there's a lot of things that come along with the birth of the rebellion, which we're going to talk about tonight. But before we do any of that, just wanted to say what's up to the chat. Hello, everybody. I see all my people in here. I got 22 people in here. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm not retiring. I promise. I got some life left in me. We got too much to talk about, man. This next year is going to be absolutely insane. So next thing we're going to be pulling up is going to be an interview. I don't remember her name. What's the name? What was the executive producer's name?
Oh,
Genevieve O'Reilly. Oh no, Genevieve O'Reilly's Mon Mothma.
Again, I have to tell you again, just for the record, I'm in love with both Bryce Dallas Howard and Genevieve O'Reilly. But I don't remember the executive producers.
Sam Vollenberg.
Okay, you got it.
Sam Vollenberg.
Yeah. And by the way, why is Echo Base Network is trolling again?
Echo Base is trolling on my channel? Get that out of here. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
Trolling. I just see a troll.
I never thought in a million years that Nikki would be negative about something like this. You know what I mean? I'm just shocked. I'm shocked. I'm hurt. I don't even know how we're gonna move forward from this. But
I know.
Dadgummit, we're gonna try. Okay, so let me pull up. Oh, that's right. It doesn't let me use. We'll try it. Every time I try to do this, it won't play the audio. It drives me absolutely nuts. But let's do this. Screen this one. Share audio.
You have to cap.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right, let me cut this crappy music. We're gonna take a minute to listen to what they have to say, because I watched this interview and I thought it was very interesting, some of the stuff they had to say, and then there was a red flag in there. There's a huge red flag in this.
I know.
So let's listen to a couple things they have to say. Let me know if you got the audio for this.
Behind everyone that has brought change, there's a story.
Audio is good.
There's a reason, and I just love that now we have 12 episodes to tell you that story. I remember living every day as if it was the last. I never thought of being part of this universe at all. I was just a fan, and one day I got a call, and I thought it was going to be a one thing in my life, and I shared it with my kids, and I saw it, and I was ready to, move on, and then I was invited to this, and it made complete sense. I had so much more to say and to do with this role, and
he's amazing, by the way.
I just wanted to explore
Diego Luna is amazing.
Things that I thought about while I was shooting that a film would never allow you to explore.
Yeah, okay, Nikki. Yeah, his voice is not great, but he's amazing. He's amazing.
Does that CG just already look like so much better?
Dude, we're going to get so spoiled. We're going to get so spoiled on this, and we're going to be like, then they're going to screw us on the second season. We're like, okay, back to normal.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That's just the CG in this looks
and
spectacular.
That the droid is B2 Emo. B2
Emo.
Yeah, B2 Emo.
Just the look of the Imperial facilities, like. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this. I'm gonna make this point really quick, just a real quick point. I love the fact that they're actually defining the differences between the Empire and the Rebellion. The Rebellion looks like dirty and nasty and grimy, and everybody's wearing very pastel colors, and then the Empire is very clean and white and sanitary. It's good.
But I have to tell you, it's. I'm with you. The Empire is always very crisp, right, and very that way. But
100%.
These folks aren't even the Rebellion yet, right? These folks are, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, they're shitting on us, on this planet or whatever. We're getting, and then we see the guy in the blue coats, right? That's their local folks that are acting on behalf of the Empire. It's so amazing to me that they're going to tell this story.
There's steps to it, right? This stuff didn't happen overnight, and we're getting a progression. That's what I'm excited about. And finally, I feel like they have a little bit of breathing room to tell a story. They have episodes to tell a story, and a lot of people are going to be wondering. I'm going to be wondering too, how much of this is going to be filler. But the nice thing about not knowing anything about the story is that since it's not established, there's no need for filler.
Yeah. Thank you, Darth Scipio and Phil McCracken. Great to see you all.
Yeah, I was really excited. I think the idea of learning about this character, for me,
I'm so in love with her.
Anyone else?
There is just nothing like an Irish accent.
I am so in love with her. Her and BTH together. Oh yes.
We have now the chance to get to know.
I think Rissman has a thing for redheads.
I think so.
Previously she was a bit of a pillar or maybe a statue, and I love that now we get to excavate that a little bit and learn about her, the human being, the woman behind the gown, if you will. In Andor,
look at Coruscant, dude.
Within the Imperial Senate.
Dude, things are moving, right? Things are moving behind them.
It's impossible to describe.
It's like, and they do disclose in this interview, I think, that they did do a few things in the volume, right? But it wasn't primarily the volume.
Right.
Okay, please and thank you.
Yeah, there was a lot of principal photography that happened on sets, which is just beautiful. That's great.
Yeah. Yes.
That's great. Glad to hear it. All right, let's keep moving.
to effect change from within Empire. Now, obviously, we know that's going to be ultimately unsuccessful because she leaves and becomes a rebel leader. So it was
Well,
fascinating.
she doesn't leave; she gets exiled. It's not like it's
How
her.
often
It's
do you
not
have to
her
fail before you
choice.
realize you have to effect change in a different way, to rescind the status quo, to drop everything, and to join a rebellion?
It is. If you hear that, it's not about what happens; it's about how it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to stop on that because I feel like that's ridiculously important, right? Did you catch that?
I did.
Why do you think that statement's important?
Well, it's the point of this series, right, is more about the why and the how, right? When we saw Rogue One, we saw the culmination of the what, right, and the end of it, right? This is going to be, how does it all happen, right? And there's some things I think about why the rebellion sprung up that I know, thank you. That I think we'll be a bit surprised about, actually.
Okay. Like?
I think we'll see Mon Mothma's character really trying to operate within the confines of the Imperial Senate and some of the other things, right? And I think we even saw, gracious, we even saw it in Kenobi when little Leia said to Kenobi, "Well, the Empire is trying to do right?" And this is happening at that same time, right? That dialogue and this dialogue is the same dialogue.
Right.
I think it's going to be very political. Right?
I mean, it's almost guaranteed we're going to get Leia again, right?
You think so? You think we're going to see Leia again in the series?
How does any of this happen without Leia?
I actually think not.
No?
Second
season Leia? Millie Bobby Brown playing a mid to teen Leia or something?
I actually personally think we're neither going to see Leia nor Kenobi in this series.
I don't want to see Kenobi ever again on TV or any series or anything again.
No,
leave him.
Well, I would love to see Ewan McGregor as Kenobi again, absolutely. But I don't think we're going to see either one of them in this series.
I don't trust them anymore, dude. The trust is gone.
So sad. That's so sad.
All right.
And that's an amazing approach to storytelling, because it's about depth, it's about real people, it's about the experience of the character.
Taking people on a journey starting 5 years before to really in the formative years of the rebellion to find many characters caught up in the events of the time and this moment of Star Wars, history. And having the chance to really go on the complex and complicated journeys with them. It's just a real opportunity to be daring and brave. And I think Tony does this with, huge integrity and so much truth.
And that's important, even though it's called Andor, it's about a revolution.
All right, let's pause there. Let's pause there for a second. Sure. So I think it's really interesting that they're talking about, this is not about what happened, but how it happens. I think, first off, that's a way better way to approach storytelling, right? You're not just retelling what happened, you're explaining why it happened. I think that's important. That was the way that I think Rogue One kind of came around, right? It was an explanation of events that adds to the mythos of Star Wars. Not just, this happened because, I don't know, people want to see Kenobi again. Like, how does it add to the mythos, right? So I think this could add to the mythos in a beneficial way. I think the show could do that. And beyond that, I mean, we've seen from Tony Gilroy already. That's the thing, is that it's been proven that he can handle this type of storytelling.
Yeah, and I think whatever you want to say about the story, or whether it's Andor, or why call it Andor, or call it Mon Mothma, whatever you want to call it, right? it seems to me that they've taken more care and feeding on the story and how it impacts the Star Wars universe, and everything that's on to them as far as feeling the weight of it, more so than what we got in the Kenobi series, which is
Right.
for me, it was like, Joby Harold, well, I didn't, bullshit, I didn't see nothing else, blah blah. We're gonna hear her say again here in a minute how much it weighed on them, and Tony Gilroy specifically, as they were doing this series. And for me, I'm like, yeah, please, please and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I almost hate to say it, but this is something that I'm constantly reminded of, is the fact that they'd have a really hard time messing this up. Because what are they going to mess up?
Well, they can. I mean, not that
I should be really careful about what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I mean, they
never underestimate Disney.
They can mess a lot of things up, right? They could mess the background, situation up, but I everything we've seen so far tells me they won't. But I mean, they can, right? I mean, but nah.
This is, to me, this is something that Nikki and I have talked about ad nauseum when it comes to the characters that Disney seems to not mess up, are the characters that they themselves created and want to prop up, right? With the exception of, I would say, Reva was probably not one of my favorite characters.
I think for me, the reason why I believe this story will work is it's not a character-driven story, and that's what they're trying to say here in this interview, right? This is a period-based story, right? In which these characters are there and they're doing things as much as anyone else is, but they're trying to tell the story about what is going on around them.
Right.
How do we get from this to what we saw in Rogue One? And I'm like,
they're reacting to events that are unfolding on a galactic scale, as opposed to totally. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Totally. Theology, what's up, brother? Andor has hope. May the Force be with you always. Thank you, my brother. Glad to see you here tonight. Glad you're here with us, even though Obsession and Nikki are just taking over the chat.
What's going on?
I don't know. But okay, so some interesting thoughts there. And I do agree with you, Theology. I think this show does have it's got some hope for me, which is something that I did not have for Kenobi. I'm going to be honest with you. But let's keep going.
So it's an ensemble. It's about a group of people. It's about it's about community. It's about, so you'll have the chance to meet
trigger word
characters.
Community.
You don't know, visit places you don't know existed in this galaxy. They're so proud of themselves, so fat and satisfied.
Look at Coruscant, dude.
It's
come on.
It's so diametrically opposed to that nothing is happening bullshit that we saw in Kenobi, right?
They're skyscrapers.
But look at all those ships, right?
Yeah, multiple traffic lanes,
and they're moving.
And they're moving.
Yeah, things are happening. I'm like, really? Okay.
Isn't that so funny though? How something that small can totally ruin something for somebody though. You're like, even Star Wars Mag. We were DMing after the show. I was like, what the fuck was that Coruscant? What was that?
It felt so fake, right?
It's disingenuous. Disingenuous. It's not the real Coruscant. All right, let's keep moving.
It
looks so good.
They just moved.
They're watching me now.
Look at that.
He is so beautiful.
That totally is an AK-47, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right? Whatever.
Yeah, it's 100% an AK-47.
That's the least of my concerns. Right?
Nikki, I'm with you on that. When she's in the interview, I'm like, damn.
Soon enough.
Yeah, she's
beautiful. Rogue One is about an event. A group of people get together and find, something to do in common, but you don't know why they're there. what happened in their lives, to convince them they were capable of bringing change. Behind everyone that has brought change, there's a story, there's a reason, and I just love that now we have 12 episodes to tell you that story.
Aren't they doing 24?
Well, he's talking about the first season, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's about learning that your strength and power is in your numbers. And there's people out there that think like you do and worry like you do about what matters to you. So Star Wars is always like that. It's always...
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You know it's coming, right?
I do.
Chat, I'm going to need your input on this one because this was the most contentious part of the interview for me. This is something that bugs the shit out of me. Every time I hear a fan say this, I'm like, you know what? Why don't you roll that back and think about what you just said?
So Star Wars is always like that. It's always telling messages that have a lot to do with what we're living, And today, there's a need for us to be in control of our reality, and to get involved and to be part of things and not to witness from afar, but to get your hands dirty in a way.
Fuck you think he talking about?
Has
Star Wars always been about what's going on in the modern day?
Yes, totally.
Okay. All right. Elaborate.
Well, when George wrote the damn thing, right? Everything that was going on, it was about, those things that came before, the Empire, and it was about everything was going on with Vietnam and all the rest of it. But I think what Diego is saying here, to me anyway, resonates, which is we should be present, right? We should be present. We should understand what is going on, and we should engage in the ways that make sense to us.
Okay.
And I think when you look at why the rebellion rose up against the Empire, it was these very same reasons, right? So I don't think there's anything more. I don't think there's anything more to read into it than that, right? Because this interview was actually taken about the time of Celebration, right? So it's not much long ago. It's a month ago now, right? But I don't personally read anything more into it than that, which is be present,
right?
Watch, understand.
Okay. This is what I'm going to say. Okay. This is where I think, because this is a very long conversation that we can have about this. Okay. So Nikki brings it up, parallels to modern day, but told in a way that would be timeless. That's where I agree. That's something that George did very well. And yes, the original Star Wars was 100% America and the Viet Cong. He said that in statements, in interviews, that the rebels were the Viet Cong and the Empire was America. We know that's a thing, right? That's politics on a world stage. What I want to avoid is a very myopic view of what's going on in today's society, right? We shouldn't be looking at very small societal problems. We should be looking at the grander stage of how things are going in the world. If that's a story that you want to tell, but you can mask it in a way that it's timeless, do it.
I'm with you. I don't think his commentary here on how he interpreted his involvement in the story, juxtaposed on what's going on today, necessarily represents Tony Gilroy, the rest of it, whatever. I think he's making a
generalization,
a personal statement around, hey, we should be ready, right? We should be involved. We should be present. We should understand what is happening. And as a result of that, we should pick a side, right? We're always going to pick a side. And I think George Lucas would probably support me on that, as much as he is a sellout. And he would say
God
the same thing.
Damn it, Rissman.
I just have to. But he would say the same thing, right? In regards to the whole point of this, right, is look around, understand what's happening, pick a side.
Rissman's drunk. All right, let's keep moving.
So the show is about that, and it's a very pertinent story to tell these days, you know, when the world is going so crazy.
There will be no rules going forward.
It looks so pretty.
Looks beautiful.
People are standing up.
Oh, I just want to go back to that really quick because it's such a subtle scene, but my God, does it make me happy when he's walking across the bridge and the tie flies across the screen. Oh. And beyond that, proper use of shaky cam. Proper use of shaky cam. Look at this proper usage of shaky cam here. Shaky cam.
That's what a reckoning sounds like.
Here we're doing.
What does that mean?
What?
That's what a reckoning sounds like.
You know,
what is that?
I would love to know how much the budget ended up being for this series, right? Because there were some recent things that came out on Skeleton Crew, by the way, you know, for tax credits, etc. 136 million for their first season. 136 million, which is finally
12
on
episodes.
Well, I think Skeleton Crew, as far as I know, Skeleton Crew might have 6, right? So even if it just has 6, that means for the first time recently, it's on par with, you know, these Marvel series they're doing, right? So I would love to know how much on these 12 episodes they ended up spending for Andor, because I feel like it's very theatrical. And
dude, it looks like they just threw money at it.
And I think it was in this interview that said, you know, they said, okay, you know, we just had to do, you know, we're making a movie, but we had that, you know, we had to.
Yeah, they're shooting 6 movies, and they were like, yeah, we were on a set doing some running over here, and then they had to come over and be a political. Yeah, I think we only have like a minute and a half left, so let's finish this out.
6 films, basically, you know. So while you're doing something, you know, the rest of the team is doing something else. It's a machine that needs your attention, your full attention.
Well, beyond that, remember the costume department in this, and all of the creatures and everything they're making.
They're talking about the fact that they're running all over the place, right?
That's
no such luxury.
There was one day I remember where Tony and Zana were running between what I was filming in this very political sphere over to a different soundstage where they were filming a battle scene. So they were coming in with this kind of battle energy and all this sweating, and then they'd come in and it would be, okay, high focus, lots of language. And it was extraordinary to imagine them balancing those 2 worlds essentially on the same day. That's television.
That was a mad time, because when the freight train is running, you just have to carry on. You know, it's these extraordinary stories to tell. And I think whether it's for the small screen or the big screen, you know, the expectation of extraordinary production values you have to fulfill. And, you know, the world.
I sense no bullshit in that woman.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Like, she's like, I can't fuck this up. She's like, I don't know. Nobody knows who I am, but I can't fuck this shit up.
That's exactly what I'm getting from her. Yeah. And it seems to me for sure, you know, and I've been fooled before. I mean, look, I could sense a lot of bullshit in Bobby Rod. You know what I mean? Dude talked a big game, and I'm like, man, you're really hyping this thing up. And everybody's like, I don't know, dude. And then
what happened? We don't know her. She's here. She's like, I can't fuck this up.
Yeah. She's, I don't know, dude.
It's a huge part of our storytelling. So the pressure is on, and you know, and it's a challenge, but an exciting one.
Yeah, if you know why you're doing it, you know, and it's an important reason. There's nothing better than this, you know, because it lasts long enough for you to actually transform with the process, you know, and that's what you take. Once we deliver this, what we take is the experience, the journey we had, and this journey mattered a lot.
I don't know. For me personally, I I'm just still smiling. This is like the third time I've seen this tonight. I'm just still smiling about it because it meant more to me than any of the interviews we saw with Kenobi. Not because I didn't like to see you and Hayden together, because they were amazing.
Right.
But the way they're talking about the story and everything they're trying to do and all the rest of it, I'm like, yes, please. I've been waiting for this for so long.
There's something, I don't know how to describe it. There's an air about this show that seems to be a tad more serious than everything else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, there's a famous quote from a George interview where he says, all these fans want Star Wars to be dark. All these fans want Star Wars to be dark, but it's for children. They're children's movies, and they don't want to admit that. I don't know if you remember that interview where he says that. But here's the thing. What's everybody's favorite prequel movie, right? Revenge of the Sith. What's the most gritty movie? Revenge of the Sith. And personally, for me, my favorite original trilogy movie is Return of the Jedi. And Return of the Jedi is definitely more dark comparatively. Some people would argue that Empire is because it leaves on a more negative note, but I think that Return is a lot more dark than Empire.
And I don't. For me, it's kind of like, oof. I think I don't like. I guess I don't like the Jedi anymore.
So now you can say F George Lucas, and now you don't like Return of the Jedi.
No.
Guys, I'm so sorry for everything. It's just Rissman's, we'll bring it back in. That's fine. We just had to give him a timeout. He had to think about what he was saying real quick.
I love Empire Strikes Back, right? Empire Strikes Back is totally my favorite Star Wars movie, followed by Revenge of the Sith, right? But Return of the Jedi, it's just...
I'm a sucker for closure, baby. I love the wrapping up the story and then the fanfare at the end of it and the credits roll and it just swells up inside you. I had the same feeling at the end of Kenobi for different reasons. It was finally over. Yeah. Essentially what I'm trying to say is there's a difference between what Kenobi did, which was they filmed everything dark, right? It was just dark, not in an emotional way. It was just dark. I couldn't fucking see anything that was going on. Andor should have the same kind of darkness that Revenge of the Sith had to a degree. Obviously, we're not as invested in the characters and stuff like that, but I mean, there's stakes. This is high stakes shit. People's lives are on the line.
It's a grittiness, though, right? There's a difference between a darkness and a grittiness.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying, right? Which is
grittiness. Yeah, I like that better.
Very gritty, right? Like it's the stakes are high and we have to do things and this is why we got here. And it's just like,
right.
That's for me, that's great storytelling, right? If we can get there and we can feel that for reasons that make sense, that's awesome, right?
It's a win. That's a Star Wars story. For the love of God.
100%.
Give me one. You ever read Bambi? Disney makes fairy tales tame. A lot are pretty dark. Yeah, actually, a lot of the original Disney stuff is pretty dark, to be honest with you. That's because even in fairy tales, life is not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Fantasia is very dark.
Super dark. Yeah. So, yeah, and then there's obviously the discussion about what kind of cameos are we going to be seeing in the show. There's some, what was it, like 240 named characters for season 1 alone? I mean, something ridiculous.
Yeah, but I don't know that we need to have, for me anyway, we don't have to have like a lot of cameos. I think
you don't want to see Glep Shido?
Oh, Glep Shido. Where did this come from? I don't even fucking know.
Glep Shido.
I know. But I think we're gonna see, I think Tem as a clone is going to have a pretty big role in this series. I think it's going to make sense, and God bless him, man. That's awesome. I'm ready for that.
He loves the abuse, man. He keeps coming back and he's like, I didn't like what they did. And then he comes back and he's like, I didn't like what they did. He
Well,
comes
I
back
mean,
again. It's like,
you know, whatever you want to say about Mando 3, I think we're gonna like him a lot better in Mando 3 than we did in Book of Boba Fett. But I mean, as
he's
far
back
as
in the proper hands for that.
dude, it's going to be amazing, right? But as far as Andor goes, I think he and Genevieve they're going to have a very compelling story, and I'm like, that's awesome, right? You know, give me the framework, right? Let's.
Is there some kind of a leak about Tim making a big? You said his story. All right, I'm not doing leaks for the show. I'm not doing them at all.
Okay.
So if there's something that you know that I don't know, I don't want to fucking hear anything about it because I'm going into this one blind.
Fair enough.
Because too many people on frickin' Kenobi were like, well, you just watched the leaks, that's why you didn't like it. I'm like, I didn't like it when I read the leaks, and then it came true. How does that differ? What are you talking about?
All I'll say is there is a Coruscant guard, right? And that's very relevant as far as this series goes. And I think they'll do a great job with that, right? She's on Coruscant. Okay, fine. I think Tony Gilroy has a plan. It's written out. He has 1,500 pages of script between these two seasons. 1,500 pages.
The return of decent dialogue to Star Wars.
This isn't let's just see what the fuck happens, right? Let's get Jon Favreau in here. No. There is a plan for this.
Yeah.
That's why I've been so waiting for it. He's just kind of like, I'm here, you know, we're doing it. And the second, I think I sent you the second video is him talking about it, right? It's like this guy, it's going to be okay.
All right, let's watch that then. If you want to watch that, let's do that. Let me stop the screen. I'm going to share another one. Now, this is Tony Gilroy, the gentleman who's responsible for Rogue One, or fixing whatever capacity he was involved in, talking about Andor.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, don't hear it. Got to turn the volume on. Share the audio, maybe. Don't hear the audio.
You can't hear the audio?
No.
Why didn't you say something sooner?
I did say something.
I can't hear a damn thing when I share my screen. So. Okay. All right. Take two. Roll it back.
Tony, Brandon, pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on Andor rolling out the first teaser trailer. I'd love to hear about when you first dove into that world and you looked at Cassian Andor and the world of Rogue One. When you found the spot of landing 5 years earlier, what was it appeal to you about that era right there, and what you could show us about the characters leading up to the moments we saw in Rogue One?
It would be interesting to take somebody who was so accomplished in Rogue, who has so many skills. I mean, he's obviously a leader, and he's a seducer, and he's able of changing his mind, and he's creative, and he's also soulful, and he's going to give himself for the galaxy. I was like, well, if you're going to start 5 years earlier, what's the longest possible journey he could make? So we put him in a big hole when we start. So 5 years earlier, he's a very different man. So it's you want to see people change.
Was it always the plan to do a part 2, or did that come up later on and you guys were like, oh, you know what? We get to explore this further.
Originally, thought, oh, maybe we'll do 5 seasons, but it's just the scale of the show is, I think when the show comes out, everybody will forgive us for not doing that. The show is huge, and it's just physically impossible. So then we were like, what are we going to do? And then the answer turned out to be incredibly elegant and perfect, which is because we knew where we wanted to go. But the solution turned out to be, you know, every now and then you get really lucky, and the solution turned out to be really fortunate for us.
And my last question for you, Rogue One was really built by an ensemble of tremendous characters. This is called Andor, but it looks like he's surrounded by other great characters again. Can you tell me about some of the other people we might meet?
Well, we got 25 or 30 people we're carrying forward, but the primary ones are, we have Denise Goff and Kyle Solar, Fiona Shaw's in the show. Stellan Skarsgård has a huge part all the way through. Obviously, Genevieve is all the way through the whole series. But we're introducing other people. We're carrying a lot of characters. We have a lot of,
Do I hear Ewan in the background just talking?
I don't know, maybe.
Do you hear that? Listen for it. I feel like I can hear Ewan in the background. Just listen.
We're carrying a lot of characters. We have a lot of, we have a lot of real estate. And so it's a pretty big opportunity from a storytelling point of view.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, it was a celebration thing, so I did
Yeah.
do it in the background.
Oh, you never go back.
What about fucking Gilroy? He's like, yeah, we got this, that, and the other. It's like,
I think he's got a handle on things. It certainly sounds like he did. This is somebody who's established already. We've seen him write a Star Wars that personally, mileage may vary on Rogue One, but I was super happy with Rogue One. Everybody's like, oh, the first half was so fucking boring. Like, yeah, that's what makes the ending so fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the chat, Devil Actual's like, we have a lot of characters we can destroy. I'm like, I didn't hear that, right? I'm like,
I didn't either.
They have a plan, right? And I do think we'll get the opportunity to see, some Order 66 survivors and some other things happening, and I think we're going to see a lot of what's going on in the world at this point. As the Empire is rising and as the rebellion is forming as a result of that. And I'm like, okay, so if Andor and Mon Mothma have roles to play in that, perfectly okay. Perfectly okay.
Did you see those comments?
What is she streaming now? I don't know.
No, they were talking about hugging. He's like, I would rather light myself on fire. Nikki's like, you should stream it.
What? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I love those two. Those two just, the dark and the light.
and is like, they have a plan. It's a tough one, right? Because I get it. We've had a lot of experience, with the sequels and the rest of it, where they just didn't have a plan, right? Tony Gilroy had a plan, and I don't know why I don't know why it's been on the shelf. I don't know why it's taken so long, and maybe it comes out and we're like, oh my God, he had a plan, and we all hate it.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. That's 100% possible. But I would much rather have somebody have a plan from start to finish and a focused vision and hate it than somebody who doesn't have a plan with legacy characters and still hate it. Because now it's disrespect to dishonor. You know what I mean? At least this is going to be like, well, I didn't like his vision. And that leads to a lot more productive conversation than a lot of other conversations that we've had.
And I see Ghostwriters like, Andor is going to be the Mon Mothma show. Who gives
Good.
a shit?
Give me
Fine.
that. Yeah.
Why is that a problem? I don't fucking care. Make it the Mon Mothma show.
I don't give a shit about Andor. So if it's the Mon Mothma show, then
shits.
Give me the Mon Mothma Rebel show.
These statements are like, "What's going to be the Mon Mothma show?" Like
Love
that.
You, by the way.
That means something. Okay, fine, great.
That would, to me, that would be great. If they gave us the Mon Mothma show, I'd be pumped. Like, fuck yeah, let's do that.
She's amazing, and I'm totally in love with her. So fine, right? It's a-okay. No, I know.
Look, I think
are on the same page with Mon Mothma, right? It's like,
there's,
okay.
There's a lot of potential for good stuff here, right? So if it was the Mon Mothma show, awesome, great. Okay, we're obviously going to get good Coruscant. So, okay, bring on the good Coruscant. I'm happy there. We're obviously going to get good Empire. We have Skarsgård in there. Like, can you think of a better Imperial that could play right now? Like, Skarsgård's going to be great. Really, if they focus more on Mon Mothma and the Empire.
And for anyone who's looking for that secret agent, right? That double
Star Wars feel.
Just remember Skarsgård, right? When we see it later, remember this whole thing that's going on, right? Tony Gilroy wrote the Bourne shit, right? He knows how. He
wrote Bourne?
Yes, he knows how to
know
do secret agent, man.
Yeah,
right? I mean, please, for goodness sake.
Yeah, spy thriller wrap up with awesome conclusion with a bunch of cool characters in the Star Wars universe that's shot well and has good effects and shot on site on scenes, like actually done correctly. I can't think of anything else that I would want from a Star Wars show. If you're going to put a Star Wars show on TV, this is a good Star Wars TV show. Mm-hmm. Now, if we're talking about a movie, that's a whole different bag of potatoes. But if we're talking about a Star Wars TV show, what I think we should be having on Disney Plus, this fits the bill perfectly. Kenobi should never have been a Disney Plus show. And I will stand by that until my grave. That should never have been on Disney Plus.
Same
And
for
Boba
me.
Fett should have just never happened, period. But
I mean, Kenobi could have been a great movie, right? Was a great movie to begin. Was supposed to be a great movie to begin with. Ended up with what we got.
Things happen.
To it.
Yeah.
But for me, yes, this Andor series, right? All 24 episodes of it. There was a plan, right? When he says, "Oh, five, if we think that six episodes is going to be their standard, right? Well, we can do the math. It's basically then like 4 seasons, right? 4 times 6 is 24. 2 12s. So for me, I'm like, okay, that's like a regular TV show with a couple extra episodes. I'm like, that's great.
I think this is what we would be getting. I don't think Mon Mothma is going to be in the field. She might have to get her hands dirty once in a Senate chamber or something like that, but I don't think we're going to catch her in a freaking battle vest out running and gunning and stuff like that.
But I think we're going to see why and how Mon Mothma, and I was even in that interview, and she said something like, she's trying, right? She's trying as a member of the Imperial Senate. And how long and how many times do you fail in that context before you realize this is not working?
Right.
I have to do something else now. And so I do think we're going to experience that change in her perspective. And whether that means the Empire also realizes get her out of here and she gets
we're gonna have to see that at some point,
or she disappears or some way the same, but we're going to see that, I believe, in this first season. And I'm like, that's appropriate. Okay,
I was literally just about to bring this up. So Nikki said Star Wars shouldn't have so many shows, it was made for movies, and I agree to a degree. And taking the words from my mouth, the only ones that make sense for a show are Andor and Mando. And I agree. And I mean, Mando had some dead space in season 2 for sure. And then it had that really nice climactic finish that had everybody with their jaw on the floor. But I think this is going to have very similar reactions that Mando did. If I had to guess, I think this is going to be very similarly mostly accepted by the Star Wars fan base. That's what I think Andor is going to be.
No, I'm with you, and I agree, and I hope that's true. But as far as the cinematic, the theatrical experience related to Star Wars, right? At this point, we're not going to get another Star Wars movie literally until 2025, if we're lucky. And at this point, I don't even know if that means we're lucky, right? Because I don't think right now any director wants to make a Star Wars movie.
No one wants to touch it except for Taika. Taika's 100% down.
No, he's not. He's very standoffish, right? In some of the things
he's writing it,
the interviews and the rest of it. I think the only person I've seen recently who's up for doing a Star Wars movie is Bryce Dallas Howard.
BDH, yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's totally down.
But whether it's her, whether it's Taika or any of the rest of it, right? If they were writing one right now, this second, and they got it done, it's still a stretch.
Yeah,
we're having it done in 2025 primarily because there's James Cameron's got movies on the docket, right? We've got Indy on the docket. We have Lucasfilm has other things on the docket between now and then. That just means they're not going to compete against each other.
I love my chat. I'm sorry. I'm just watching these. I love watching these guys talk so much.
So that's why I'm saying, right? So at this point, if we looked at what's going on, right, 2025 is still about where we're at, and I'm kind of like, today, July 2022. I have personally kind of given up on a Star Wars movie. I'm like, fuck it. Right. I mean, point,
Patty Jenkins was like our best bet, right? She was the only hope that we had was Rogue, and I was super pumped for that. I'm like, dude,
these directors are like, fuck this shit. I don't want to touch.
Well, would you want to? I mean, I would want to take on a Star Wars movie right now, but would you want to?
100% no. And that's what I'm saying is none of them. And Taika's like, well, if it happens, if it doesn't happen, blah blah, this, that, and the other. Nobody wants nobody wants to make a Star Wars movie,
except for Bryce Dallas Howard.
So I'm like, well, we have to get the best Disney Plus content then, and for us right now, I think it's Tony Gilroy.
There's almost a part of me that's okay with us, having to stumble through. Okay, I'm gonna say something and then I'm gonna redact something and I'm gonna say something else. There's almost a part of me that's okay with them stumbling and falling and tripping and trying to get it right on Disney Plus before they go back to the big screen, because they stumbled and tripped and fell on the big screen and it cost them a shitload of money. So they were like, you know what? If we're gonna stumble and trip and fail, let's do it on Disney Plus. It's still gonna cost us a lot of money, but it's not gonna be probably as public, or B, as financially destructive as a major Hollywood production where you have, there's a lot that goes along with that. Look, I'm no professional when it comes to the numbers, but the thing that I'm not okay with them doing is stumbling and tripping and falling with legacy characters on Disney Plus. That's the only thing I don't like. So Kenobi, for me, you're not given the authority to do a trip and stumble and fall with a legacy character like Kenobi or Vader or Anakin, any of those.
Well, I'm with you, right? And I think it makes it more disappointing when we can't say, well, there's going to be a movie soon. Right. Say what you want about Thor: Love and Thunder and about the rest of the Marvel, Phase 4 movies. There has been movies, right? And they've been obviously on the big screen, right? And so they've juxtaposed their series and their movies, and they've kept doing it. And as far as Star Wars goes, it's just been only on Disney Plus. And so there isn't any offset to that. So whether you like it, whether you hate it, you can't go back to the theater and see the next Star Wars movie because there is none. And for me personally, that's an absolute and utter failure. That's an absolute and utter failure from a Lucasfilm perspective. Yes, okay, Rise of Skywalker didn't do it. It's 2022. It's 3 years ago now. Right, that was 2019. For Christ's sake, it's inexcusable that you
wanted them to put something on the slab, whether people were going to like it or not. Another offering for people to get buzzing and talking about it, or whatever the case may be.
We've had 3 or 4. I don't know. I'd have to count them, but we've had 3 or 4 Marvel movies between then and now. And we couldn't do anything else from a Star Wars movie perspective. And then on fucking Disney Plus Day or whatever, they put Rogue One back in the theater, which, by the way, was amazing to see back in the big screen. But we couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, there was nothing else. What do you think about these? So the Duffer Brothers, if I'm not mistaken, did Stranger Things, right?
Mm-hmm. Stranger Things, yeah.
I got done. So we're going to do a Stranger Things stream. So anybody who's interested in that, just hit me up with a DM. I'm so excited to talk about that. But, I mean... it really is interesting. I saw it again. Somebody pulling words out of my mouth. They're competent storytellers, which almost seems like a fucking anomaly these days. That you can have 4 different stories going on at the same time, pace it well, have it make sense, and then have them come back together at the end of it for a resolution. That seems almost like a Herculean Olympian feat in today's storytelling for somebody to be able to do that well. And they did it really well. And what happens? Everybody's freaking creaming their pants over it. They're like, fucking Stranger Things is the shit. They're so excited. Which, good. They deserve the credit for it. How do you think they would do in a Star Wars show, though?
I mean, I think they could do a very good, sort of pseudo horror, the stormtrooper with the thing through his head. They could do some things that I think would be quite agreeable from a Star Wars perspective. But what I'm going to say now is, but why would they? What is their motivation?
Hey, do you guys want to commit career suicide? Like, yeah, let's do it. Why?
It's like, what is their motivation? They have a great thing going. They're doing so much. So this is why I say why I think Taika is like so wishy-washy about what nobody. I don't. Many directors don't want to do a Star Wars movie right now because there's no reason why they should. It's too much overhead. It's too why?
Well, that was something that I think even the Empress herself, Kathleen Kennedy, said. I think it was Kathleen. I can't remember if it was her, John. It was that they need people that are willing to put 3 to 4 years into this and stick with it. And
but what she
don't want to dedicate the time.
What she left off was 3 to 4 years and deal with her. And deal with
her.
No, I'm serious. And deal with the overhead that comes with that
studio.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm watching Universal kill it. I'm watching Paramount kill it. I'm watching everything else going on from all these other hugely successful movies, right? And I'm like, well, as much as I don't want to say she's the reason why people are not wanting to go, I'm kind of like, maybe it's just the reason why people are not wanting to go, right? Because I'm just watching
okay, you just became the guy on YouTube that said the whole reason that Star Wars is a failure is Kathleen Kennedy.
I'm starting to believe it could
admit it. There's
because I'm seeing these movies that I've gone and watched theatrically, whether it's been Top Gun Maverick, whether it's been the Ghostbusters movie, whether it's been any of the rest of these movies that I've gone and that have had a huge impact. I even love the Black Phone and some of these other things that are so. I just saw Where the Crawdads Sing last night, for Christ's
sake. Was that
good? It was not a happy movie, but it was good.
That didn't look like a happy movie, Rissman.
But all I'm saying is, I didn't feel that overhead when I've watched these movies, right? And I'm like, I feel like the reason why Taika is very wishy-washy about his Star Wars prospect is because he couldn't go and fuck off like he just did with Thor: Love and Thunder.
Now, I haven't seen that movie, but it appears that Taika's lost some credibility within the Marvel fan base after that movie.
It's a bit of a parody, right? It's a bit of a Marvel parody, but I personally left that movie like, okay, I saw what I saw. I laughed at it, right? But he obviously made the movie he intended to make, and nobody was over his head saying you can't do that. You can't. Right. This is not appropriate. You can't. He made his fucking movie.
Right. And people apparently have not liked it. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but the big problem was a lot of people were saying that it's way too goofy when it needs to be serious.
The whole movie is goofy.
Right. So that was something that worked for Ragnarok, right? People really liked Ragnarok.
Ragnarok is a much better movie for me than Thor: Love and Thunder was. But my point in the context of this conversation is they let him make the movie he intended to make. Whether we like that movie or not, whether we feel like that movie is appropriate for the MCU, okay, put it to the side. He made his fucking movie. I don't know that he would be given that same opportunity from a Star Wars perspective.
I would pray to God not.
But he's directed at least 1 or 2 very successful Mandalorian episodes, so he understands the franchise. So I'm not saying
that is like the biggest blemish on Mando for me is that stupid scene where the 2 scout troopers carry out jokes for way too long.
Was that his episode?
That was Taika, yeah. And he had that guy, the comedy actor, I can't remember his name, but he always plays the same dude in every single movie. I can't remember his name. Anyways, yeah, and that went on way too long. I remember staring at it like, This is like the climax right now. What are we doing? What are we doing?
You know, I don't know. I mean,
Jason Sudeikis. Yes, thank you, Nick. Jason Sudeikis. Yeah, he was one of the scout troopers. And this kind of forays beautifully into Barb's basement here. I think this is something that I've been trying to put to words in a way that people will understand, and people just don't want to hear it. People are judging the success of Star Wars based off of the money. And look, the bottom line is they're a money-making company. But this approach where we just say, just because this movie made money, it's successful, is a very myopic view of how the entire Star Wars fan base works and how movie making works. I shouldn't say movie making, how an IP works in the long run. Because the bottom line is, if you lose your customer base, you're not going to get any money. That's the bottom line. And if you just slap Star Wars on something and expect it to succeed, that will work for the first, couple movies that you put out, but it will start to tank. Eventually people will start to lose interest, and then your core fan base was gone in the first 2 movies anyways. So who's buying your product just because you're slapping Star Wars on it if nobody gives a shit that it's called Star Wars? You have to retain your original base in order to remain successful, not to be successful, but to remain successful.
Well, and I was just looking because I thought I had taken a picture of it, but I saw a Parrot Research or some other post earlier today that was talking about, how we determine whether or not these series are successful, right? And it's always around views and how many views do we get, and what does that then mean, right? And that's why what we see, it's Kenobi, it's Mando, or the two together, and then we go a couple down into Stranger Things, and some of their Expanse was right there. I love the Expanse, by the way, and some of these things, right, which is just it's all view based, right? And again, some of us see some of these episodes multiple times. I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should stop doing that, or
right,
maybe I'm screwing this up. Right, but it's all very transactional, right? It's how many times did people see these things? Not how many times did we like them, or not how did you feel about seeing those?
Well, they're turning off comments on a lot of the videos on Star Wars. So what does that tell you about what people think about it?
Back in the day when they used to do exit polls, right? When there was none of the rest of this nonsense, and it was all exit poll driven. It was, they didn't ask, did you see it? Well, clearly you did. You're fucking walking out of the
clip, right? Yeah.
They asked, how did it make you feel? What did you like? What did you not like? And some of the rest of it. Now they don't do any of that anymore, right? Now it's all about who saw it. And then
beyond that, they've now manicured a way to make sure that the message is positive coming out of it. There's a way to manicure the perception of the public of how it came out, that people really enjoyed it and they loved it, and they will do anything to suppress any negativity. And this is something that happens in politics too, obviously, but we're not going to go there. This is something that happens in Star Wars too, because anybody who doesn't like it is just after clicks. Anybody who didn't like the show is just a grifter. They're after clicks. They hate anything that Disney Star Wars would do. Like,
well, now they do it if X millions of folks watched it, then it can't be bad. If it was bad, why would so many people be watching it? And I'm kind of like, that's why I'm like, well, I bought a ticket for Love and Thunder like many other people did, right? It doesn't. The fact that I bought a ticket to watch it doesn't necessarily
make
mean
it good.
I liked it or didn't like it. It just means I had to enter. There was an entry point that required me to spend $12 for a ticket.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's just so stupid to me.
Well, it's not a good metric. Just to say that you watched it doesn't make it good. Yeah, just like you're saying. I hate to be an echo on that, but I mean, it's it's like a roller coaster. Well, 1,000 people bought tickets to get on the coaster. Well, 982 of them got off and were like, "What the fuck did I just spend my money on?" But 1,000 people got on it.
But that's exactly it, right? No one's there asking after folks got off, what did you think? The soundbite is 1,000 people wrote, right? 1,000 people, if it wasn't good, we wouldn't have had 1,000, right?
Right.
If it was, okay, we would have had 500, right? But because it was so great, we had 1,000. I'm kind of like, well, no. I mean, the options are either you write it or you don't write it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the cost to entry is, okay, I have to spend the money to write it once. Whether I write it 3 or 4 times after that because I loved it, no one cares, right? I wrote it once.
That should be a metric. Is what's the rewatch? That would be a better metric, because let's say Obi-Wan, the Kenobi show, got 13 million views. What was the rewatch? What was the re-click? Was it 1 million? Because I feel like that's not good, right? To me, in my brain, I would say I didn't make a show that people want to come back to. I watched chapter 16 of season 2 of Mandalorian probably 38 times. I think I probably watched that 38 times back because it evoked a feeling and I loved it and I wanted to feel that again, and I rewatched it again and I'm looking for little things. And then beyond that, I looked for shit to nitpick because I was so happy. You know what I mean? I wasn't just nitpicking because I was upset. I was looking to nitpick shit because I was happy. I'm like, ooh, what else can we find in here? And I found a couple scenes with the Shoto saber, and I'm like, I don't even care, but isn't that funny? They fucked up. Oh my God, there's a Gene guy in the hallway. Like, you know what I mean? It's a completely different feeling, and I want that back.
Well, it's I guess we get the fucking troll here.
I think I got him.
You got it, okay. That's exactly the right way. I mean, it's like we've traded it purposely. We've traded it from the other, which is now all we care about is number of views, right? Whereas before, all we cared about was the quality of views.
Right.
Right. And how did it make you feel? And what worked and what didn't work? Now it's like, no, fuck that. How many times have you watched? Oh my God, that's great. You watched it 5 times. I don't care if you liked it or not, right? Watch it 5 times. That's a soundbite, right? That's a huge soundbite in regards to the way the metrics work. And I'm like, fuck the digital age, dude. Right? No, I'm just saying it used to be.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Qualitative. Now it's quantitative.
Yeah.
How many? Not how did it make you feel? How many?
Well, and to your point, a big way to judge success with an IP like Star Wars is a movie drops first weekend. What does the second weekend look like? And that was a way that you could judge that metric. And Star Wars was always fucking bang, 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 bang. They were cranking out numbers left and right. And you would always see that second weekend, it was staying strong. And that's something that's happening with, like you said, Ghostbusters, like with Top Gun. You see that second weekend come strong. And I almost wonder if there's maybe that's a reason they're not going to the movies, is because you can hide on the fact that, like, well, we got this many people that subscribed. You know what I mean? How many people canceled after the show?
The sad thing about the Star Wars theatrical experience is not only do directors not want to be the next one after Rise of Skywalker to be like, did I do it? Not. But from a franchise perspective, Lucasfilm is like, I personally feel like they're like, I don't care if there's ever a fucking another movie or not. Because they're making, they have a model that's working now, whether we like it or not, that's making them their money on non-theatrical releases. So it's a complementary problem, right? Directors don't want to do it. Lucasfilm's not requiring it. Nobody is saying, where are the movies? That's why I say I don't know if we're ever going to have another Star Wars movie.
I want to address the comment from Steve, because that's a good point. The only thing that's different between a movie as a show is you can stop watching after episode 1 if you don't like it. So watch data can be meaningful. I have never been to a movie where I walked out 15 minutes in. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to the shows, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. You're going to watch the whole thing. You're at least going to watch most of the whole thing. Maybe if you get to episode 5 of 6 and you're like, I hate this, but let's wrap it up. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a very, very different metric than week 1 and week 2 in the box office. It's apples and oranges. I don't know that we can really compare those two side by side. I feel like it's just different. I could be completely wrong. That could be speculation, but that's my thought.
For me also, it's like if I've paid the money to have a ticket to go and see the movie, if I've paid them, I tell you honestly, I think Snake Eyes is a better movie than Rise of Skywalker. But if I've paid the money for a ticket to go and see the movie, unless it's just absolutely awful,
inexcusably awful,
awful to me from a personal or religious or lifestyle perspective, I'm gonna stay there for the 2 hours and watch the fucking thing. I paid the money for the, you know what I'm saying? When I'm at home, Miss Marvel is a great example of this, right? When I'm at home and I pay for this service, and they're telling me, okay, here's a new series. Okay, it's Miss Marvel. Watch the first episode. I'm like, fuck this shit. And then, I go off and do my other things or whatever. And I'm like, next episode comes out. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll give it another chance.
You're not going to be doing midnight watch parties like me, but.
No. And so I keep watching it. I'm like, okay, I can watch this for 4 more episodes, right? Because the price to entry is already paid for, and I'm at home, right? I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. And so for me, it's always about, okay, who's going to make a new movie? Why they're going to do it? And if they're just going to keep putting out the at-home content, how can they get new folks to sign up as a result of that? Because that's where
you hire Ewan and Owen. Ewan and Owen. Ewan and Hayden. I'm thinking Owen. I couldn't help myself. The battle on the Lars homestead.
But again, even if it was that series is a great example, right? You could have still just subscribed for a month, right? You didn't have to watch the first 2 episodes that came out in May,
right?
Whatever. 4 episodes in June. You could have subscribed for 1 month. You could have seen them all together. You could have been like, okay, fuck this, I'm done. And it's finished, right? So maybe they've some actuary and it's like, okay, well, we got, there's some money coming to us, at least from somebody who wasn't subscribed before this, getting us for a month.
But how do you really quantify that metric if people are subscribing for Marvel content and they're subscribing for their kids, for kids content? So, there's not a questionnaire when you sign up for Disney Plus that says, are you joining for Star Wars? Are you joining to watch the Kenobi show? There's no way to quantify that.
It's a very interesting question, though, because I feel like people are probably subscribing to Disney Plus more for Marvel content than they are for Star Wars, because it's so repetitive. I mean, or it's going. And from a Star Wars perspective, we don't know what the fuck is happening. But I've always been able to tell you from
It's
Marvel.
been the last year of my life, Rissman. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I've always been able to tell you from a Marvel perspective what's happening, right? We had everything. We had Moon Knight. We had Miss Marvel. Now we've got the She-Hulk is coming. Then we've got the Groot thing is coming. They're all coming. They're coming. It keeps going. And from a Star Wars perspective, it's like, okay, we had the Kenobi now. All right, fine.
This last little gap has felt the most structured. They were like, Kenobi's over. Put your pants on. August. Andor's coming. It's been the most sequential, I would say.
And then finally we know, okay, Andor's coming. And then we've got, at the end of September, we've got the Bad Batch, and we've got Tales of the Jedi is coming. And for the first time, we have a little bit more of that than we didn't have before. But for Marvel, it's very much advertised. It's very boom, 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 coming. And so I feel like they're getting a lot more subscribers on Disney Plus, new subscribers for Marvel content than they are for Star Wars.
But Star Wars fans would, I mean, we already are just as pissed off. There was a comment from Nikki earlier on that was saying, the volume is essentially just a content machine for Star Wars. Just pump out as many shows as humanly possible, get it on track, get it going. Try to gain some steam. And at this point, for me as a living, breathing, existing Star Wars fan that's been there for a long time, one hit is not going to fix it. You know what I mean? There's some damage that has to be repaired within the hardcore Star Wars fan base or even the casual hardcore Star Wars fan base. That's going to take some time to remedy. And it's going to take probably 2 or 3 good shows in a row, which is a tall order for anyone.
Well, I think Andor, I believe Andor is going to be, visually satisfying. And I think the story will be great. And it's 12 episodes, which is unusual in their current 6-episode model and all the rest of it. And then I think we'll get spoiled on that. And then the next thing will happen and it'll be like, oh, fuck you, It's not sustainable, right? Because they choose not to sustain it. Not because it can't be sustainable, but because someone is saying, you know what, this is not our model, right? We don't need to do this, right? We can capitalize on 6 episodes. And I'm like, I'm an old guy, right? I'm very used to
You're the picture of youth, Rissman.
TV is 10, 12, a season of regular TV isn't 6 episodes. It's just
12 to 16.
It's just
12 to 16 is a good number.
Yeah. And maybe they take a hiatus in the middle, right? So maybe it's 6 and 6, right? But it's going to be 10, 12 episodes of TV, right? So if you're doing TV, do fucking TV. If you're going to do movies, do movies. Fucking movie.
Yeah, stop with the made-for-TV movie mini-series thing.
This whole middle thing, right? Which is weird. It's not fucking working.
I mean, so how many episodes was Mando per? So 8 episodes per?
8 or 9, right?
Well, 8 or 9, because it was chapter 16 is where we left off. So for me, if you're going to do a longer format episode, 8's good for me. That works for me. That's fine. But the hour long and 6 episodes, especially when you have one that runs like 45 minutes or 37 minutes, it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
That's the rest of it, right? If you're going to do however many episodes you want to put out, right? The episodic TV standard is, when you consider commercials, right? 43 minutes, right? Yeah. It should be at least 43 minutes of actual I don't mean fucking with the fucking credits, for Christ's sake. I mean,
it takes up 7 minutes of the show.
Jesus fucking Christ. I mean 43 minutes of actual episodic content.
Yeah.
Right? That's what ABC and the rest of these motherfucking they do. Right? And that's why, Superman and Lois, any of the other things that I watch, right, as TV now seems to manage.
Yeah.
42 to 43 minutes of actual content, absent commercials.
Yeah, 7-minute prologue.
and before fucking, end credits. Okay, fine. I'm okay with give me a 3-minute recap. Right, but everyone else is doing all of this stuff quite successfully as television, and yet Disney Plus, at least, and then Marvel, I would say, is kind of guilty of this as well. They're not doing it, right? They're cheaping out on the actual minutes of content. I'm like, why?
You know what? One that comes to mind for me, and it's something that I've actually been thoroughly enjoying, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about. Do you watch the Orville at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so homework for the next Cantina, the next late night is going to be the Orville New Horizons, the new season that came out. Because it started as a parody of Star Trek. That's really where it started. And then it kind of evolved into basically that show is now Star Trek The Next Generation. That's what it is. But it's 2022 Star Trek: The Next Generation. So what's so mind-blowing to me is that I've been watching this show that has long run times, because I'll usually wake up and try to watch it before work, and then I'm like, fuck, like I don't have enough time. This show's like an hour and a half long. You know, it's a really long show, and there are all these self-contained stories that kind of bleed into each other. But there are straight up in your face woke moments in that TV show, and I'm enjoying the shit out of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I
should hate it, but I love it.
No, but I have to tell you honestly, you know, on the same, whether it's the Orville or anything else, right? Again, you know, I've been watching Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, all the rest of it, and whether you like them or not, as a matter, the minutes of content has been 45 minutes plus.
Yeah.
Right. They've and they look beautiful. Right. All of these series looks beautiful.
I have to. My parents are drifters, dude. My parents are drifters. They fucking hated Picard. My parents are full-blown Star Trek drifters.
I understand. All I'm saying is the production value on these series, volumeless, is amazing.
Right.
Right.
Even the Orville looks better than Kenobi, which is mind-blowing at times.
And all the rest of them, right? So I'm like, and the minutes of my watching, right, is, you know, I'm watching The Blackbird on fucking Apple TV Plus is killing it, by the way, from a content perspective. But really? I watched The Blackbird today, the newest episode they put out. It was 50 some odd minutes of content, and none of it was filler.
Yeah.
Right. They're telling their story. Right.
It feels like a movie these days. Like it feels like a movie.
Yeah. And so I'm like, why? I feel like Disney Plus content, especially for Star Wars, is preying upon the fact that, well, we don't have to we can do 30-ish minutes. And because we put Star Wars out there, people are gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm kind of like,
and we do, and we all do.
We're watching it, but we're not happy about it because, again, I have all these other. I was watching Night Sky on Prime with J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek. They're amazing, right? Every episode was 45 minutes plus, right?
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? It's the story supported, and I don't know what Disney is doing. I really don't know. Because I have so many examples of other streaming shows that I'm watching. Stranger Things not amongst them, because I put that aside. All these other things I'm watching, I'm like, it's crazy to me. Just absolutely crazy.
I think it's safe to say, look, this is just a broad assessment by what's been going on. I don't know if they give a shit about Star Wars anymore.
That's a tough one, right?
Do they? And if they do, why are we having all these problems? If they don't, why isn't it being resolved?
Because the appearance is they feel like the effort they're putting into it and the series they're spinning out is enough. And we're like, look at your competition. Whether you do or don't love Star Wars, just look at the competition. Right? And how are you really think you're killing it? Right? Because I don't think you are, and there's a lot of great actors and actresses that are in the competition series.
Yeah.
You know, that are clearly there and doing their jobs, right? So I'm like, so what is your, you know, so what is it? Right? Like Terminal, another great
example. Just shouldn't have bought it. Disney just shouldn't have bought Star Wars. They're not the right fit for it. Now, like you said, you've been seeing Universal absolutely killing it. I would love to see 5 years where Universal runs Star Wars comparatively.
Well, I mean,
it'd be a very interesting comparison just to see. Or what if they open up the contract kind of like they did with the games, you know? We'll let Universal make one movie and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, Universal is just it's the sleeping giant, right? They've been killing it in so many ways. Their theme parks have been killing it. Their movies have been killing it. Their their merchandise has been killing it, but it's been killing it in a very quiet and organic way, such as we don't need to tell you why we should be killing it. We're just
gonna do it.
Here it is. Right, here is our stuff. We hope you love it, and if you do love it, buy some things.
Yeah,
right? Do some other this, right? And
it's almost like being a YouTuber, right? You're like, I hope you like my content, and if you don't, well, then I guess you won't fucking subscribe. But I've never made a video where I pop up and I look at my subscribers and I'm like, if you don't like our shit, the problem is you. Do you understand? There's 1,000 things you can be in the YouTube universe, okay? And a grifter's not one of them. Like, what the fuck? Get out of here. Just get out of here.
From a Star Wars perspective, it's very much, okay, Star Wars fans, here we go. This, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. You're going to love this. And don't care what it is. I know we're going to love, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right. From Universal and even Paramount, by the way, because I think Top the Mavericks, Paramount, right?
A lot of people weren't happy with Halo, though.
I never did watch it yet.
I watched it.
Right. Yeah, but they're very much, hey, here's what we're doing, right? You love these franchises or whatever. We're gonna put this content out. Have a look at it, right? Whereas Disney is like, no, right? You're going to love this, right?
And if you don't, the problem's you.
Because this franchise is a fan favorite, which we own, right? So from going into it, you go into it with, I'm loving it. And then the story is secondary, right? Whereas some of these other things, right, the primary is, okay, the story, franchise, you understand it. Here's a story. What do you think? Some of the rest of it. And that's why I was so personally happy to see Expanse was number 3, right? It was in this.
Is that a Paramount property?
Expanse was bought by it was a sci-fi property, and it was.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was bought then by Amazon to finish it off, right?
Okay.
Was number 3, right? So that 1 and 2 was Boba Fett and Kenobi or whatever it was, and number 3 was, it was Boba Fett and Mandalorian, and number 3 was Expanse.
Really? That's more of a gritty sci-fi show, though, right? That's more bound in realism, where like if a piece of space dust hits the side of the ship, everybody's gonna die, kind of deal.
Yeah, dude. If you've never seen The Expanse, I couldn't recommend it more. Right? The Expanse is like Battlestar Galactica on steroids for me.
I've never seen Battlestar Galactica. Not one episode ever.
So good. But The Expanse, it's finished now. But it was sci-fi, and then they put it on. It got canceled, and then Prime picked it up. And then the only thing that happened then was everyone says fuck every other word, which is okay, fine, whatever.
Meh.
But I 100% recommend The Expanse. But again, it's these things, right? The Expanse was a very it's based on books, right? There's source material that they're doing in The Expanse, right? It's not like someone's making the bullshit up.
They acknowledged that there was source material.
Dude, that's the whole thing about The Expanse, right? And that's why I was saying to someone earlier today, I was like, when we're talking about Terminal List, talking about Bosch, talking about.
Did you see what was said about the Terminal List?
No.
It was oh my God, you're gonna love this. The Terminal List was an unhinged. It was a conservative, unhinged revenge porn. That's what they said about the Terminal List. I have to go get a drink. I'm gonna be right back. Rissman, while I'm gone, I want you to do something for me. Explain to me exactly how it is that Disney was able to foster this relationship with their fans, where it's very much that if you don't like it, it's your problem, not mine.
Okay. I'm still on the whole. The best stories, the ones that are just based on the books, right? Bosch and Terminal List and then Reacher. Reacher is another great example, right? And I've read, maybe for me personally, I haven't read Jack Carr, right? But I've read all of the Michael Connelly books, and also Lee Child, which is 2 of the 3. It's amazing, right? And those are the best ones, right? They take the source material and they capitalize on it, right? And so,
oops, wrong button. There he is.
I was rambling on about why I love the book so much, and I forgot what question you asked me. So, but
you had one job, bro.
I know, and I failed. But I mean, I was talking, but I failed on your job.
Okay, so before we leave, I want to talk about 2 IP, maybe not 2, I guess we'll call them IPs, 2 IPs, and then I think we'll end it because it's awfully late for old Rissman over there on the East Coast. 2 things I want to talk about. First one is going to be, because Nick will not shut up about it in the chat, I want to talk about Dune really quick.
Oh, Nick Holness and Dune.
Oh, but dude, I'm with Nick. I love Dune. My God, I loved the new Dune. Now, I went back and I watched the old one, and it really had kind of like the Last Starfighter vibes for me. It was very nostalgic, even though I didn't see it when I was a kid. Loved it. Went back and watched the new one, and I'm like, this guy did a fucking phenomenal job at recreating the story. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I mean, I loved what they did with the new Dune. I've known all the Dunes, right? And I've known the books and the rest of it. And so, this last one, it felt very epic, in the same way as the Lord of the Rings movies felt epic to me.
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, not The Hobbit.
No, not The Hobbit.
Right.
No, I mean the real shit, not The Hobbit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt very grand, right? And it just felt very epic.
It was cinematic.
Yeah, of course. But over and above that, do I think the Dune story is a particularly great story? Maybe not. Right, but I thought they did a great job with this movie. This is fine.
It is though very much similar to Star Wars in the way that it is kind of the hero's journey, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean that's where they're going, right?
And I don't know the end of it. Don't spoil it for me. I know it's widely available, but no spoilers. Okay.
It's going to work out. I mean, but it's the same thing, right? Which is, okay, we've got competing. We've got some things that are competing, right? It's desolate. All hope is lost. How can we make this happen? It's very spiritual, right? And there's things that are happening. So yes, I mean thematically, it's a great story.
Is it a tough read?
Oh yeah.
Is it really?
You have to kind of slog through it. I mean, it's not an easy read. It wasn't for me anyway.
They should release an audiobook where the girls are screaming in your ears, just like in the movie.
I'm sure.
I think that'd be great. I gotta that scene though, when they go to the planet with like the war fighters. I don't remember the name of them. I wish I could remember the name of them. Not Azurai. I don't remember. But the guy doing the chants as they're like slitting the throats of the initiates, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm like, oh shit, this is so cool, man. It was really cool. It really transported me into this universe that, like, it should seem familiar because there's humans walking everywhere, but this is fucking wild. You know what I mean? It was super wild. Sardaukar, thank you. Yeah.
No, I mean it again, I have to say, I mean, it was a beautiful job done, right? But Dune is a very it's a thinking story.
Saw that.
Right? You can't. It's not just hey, we're gonna have a battle and people are launching up. No, there's a lot going on with the Dune story. It's very cerebral. And for me personally,
that's why I love it.
I'm kind of like, I don't know I don't want to think that much. I don't even want to...
Dude, that's me. Like, give me a movie where my brain's got to chew on that thing for like a week. I love that kind of movie.
I'm like, for me, I'm like, I don't want to think that much through the week while I'm working, right? You know, you give me a movie where I really have to chew on it. I'm kind of like, oh, fuck me.
Dude, okay, so maybe this is like a difference in what we did. Now, obviously it's different now, but I worked by myself alone on rooftops for like hours upon hours upon hours on end. You got to give me something cerebral. Otherwise, I'm going to go nuts, right? Give me something to think about. And I think maybe that's why I loved it so much, is because like I was in my own headspace. And maybe that's why I'm going crazy. I had to give something for my brain to chew on. And that was one of those ones that was just absolutely awesome. And it's one of those ones where everybody has a different opinion about really kind of like what it should be.
Well, this is the beauty of a wonderful theatrical experience, which is, even though I'm just telling you, I don't want to have to think about it, but I love the movie, right? And I've seen it multiple times, right? In the theater, at home, all this, right?
I've seen it like 7 times already.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't feel like I wasted my time, you know, trying to understand what was going on here. And it was such a beautiful experience. Big screen, IMAX. I've seen it on the IMAX. I saw it in the Dolby. Just so great.
I wish I had.
Watch it. And, you know, this is one of the ones that you should see it there and do it.
Oh,
right. But
you doing okay, buddy?
Yeah, good. It just
indigestion.
Yeah. It just takes some work.
Yeah.
Right. And for some
I'm
folks,
good with that.
That's not why they're going to see a movie.
But maybe I loved it so much because it was such a departure from being spoon-fed in an experience. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why I loved it so much. But Le Kenobi faire $2 Take my money. Okay, I'll take your money. Leave me alone, eh?
Thank you.
Stop killing the children, eh? Good night, SJ. Have a good night. So yeah, for me, I think that was a big one. That was just an experience. That was a cinematic experience for me. That was something I haven't felt, I think, since Revenge of the Sith. Rogue One was like right on the cusp. It was like Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, Dune. Those are all kind of in the same. Minus one movie, which was going to be the next one that I was going to talk about.
Which one is it?
Avatar.
Oh.
I get so much hate for loving Avatar, bro. I get so much hate for it, but I fucking love that movie. I love that movie, and I am dying to see the second one. And I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it.
So for me, Avatar is an interesting one. I didn't hate the first Avatar. I thought it was quite, you know, for its time, right? It was very, very amazing, right? All the things that Cameron did and all the rest of it, right? And the way it all worked together, I was like, that was awesome. My biggest problem with the fact that there's now a sequel coming is, Jesus fucking Christ, how many years ago was it? I've even forgotten. I will have to go back and rewatch the first.
Did you say the same thing about Star Wars?
Never.
How many years was it between 1983 and 1999?
But I never forgot what the last Star Wars movie was about. Right?
I never forgot what Avatar was about.
Well, then bully on you, right? For me, it's like my God, really? And I'm like, was there a story? Right? And the rest of it, I'm kind of like, okay, so now after all this time, there's a sequel, and there's supposed to be how many more? There's going to be like 5 of them.
5 movies in total. Yes. Hawk Darwin, you're my boy. Avatar is amazing. Can't wait for the next one. You're the homie.
Thank you.
Stop killing the children, eh? It's disgusting what they do, you know?
You know, and I have to say, welcome to the membership.
That was quick. He was like, damn, he read my super chat. All right, I'm part of the family. That's it. Welcome to the family, Le Kenobi.
Whatever you will say or won't say about Avatar, you have to love Cameron, because Cameron's like, fuck this shit. He's like, you know what? They're telling me it's been too long since I had the last movie. Fuck them. They can go back and watch it. They're telling me it's too long. My kids are watching 8 hours. They're fucking binging 8 hours at a time. You know what? You can get up and take a piss, right? I mean, this man is still amazing in regards to what he's saying about.
They made a whole ass Disneyland about him. Come on.
And so I fully expect this next Avatar is going to be 3 hours ish.
Good.
Right? And it's going to be the movie that Cameron wants to tell. And if people don't like it, he's going to say, you know what? Fuck y'all. I mean.
Okay. Stop right there. Stop right there. Why is it okay there and we totally accept it and not okay with what happens with Star Wars?
It's James fucking Cameron.
Okay. All right. Quantify that.
It's the same as if Steven Spielberg said
it's his story, right?
Yes. And the problem with Star Wars, and the reason why it doesn't work, is they didn't perpetuate that chain of custody, right? If
George's vision.
Yes. As soon as George stopped doing it, right? They didn't. God bless Ron Howard, by the way. I know you didn't like Solo, right? But for me, I feel like of all the legacy directors who tried to come in and do something great with Star Wars, I have to give it to Ronnie fucking Opie Howard, right? He came in and he was like, I love this shit, right? What can I do? How can I help this, right? You know, what would make this okay? And he tried to do his best with Solo. And I believe the reason why Bryce Dallas Howard has done so great as far as what she's done with The Mandalorian.
Daddy's daughter on that. Yeah.
It's because of what she experienced before, right? But other than that, right, we haven't had that I love this, right? And I'm with this. Not the same as Spielberg, not the same as James fucking Cameron, right? Just not the same. So as much as I don't like Titanic, right? As much as, you know, the first Avatar, okay, fine. It's James fucking Cameron, right? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna watch it, right? And I wish he would do something with Star Wars, for Christ's sake.
Well,
right? He's the guy, man.
I just feel like the difference there is that you have a competent storyteller, and he tells a competent story. If you don't like the competently told story, that's on you. If you don't tell a competent story and I don't like it, that's not my fault. You get what I'm saying?
It's the same as the Reitmans, right? It's the same as all these other folks, right? Who's been it's not good.
It's me, Uncle Kenobi. I've gone French. I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I apologize. I don't know. I don't know this.
It's the Reitmans. It's all these other. It's these the Russos is another great example, right? The Duffers, these folks who have had a legacy of love, a labor of love for these franchises, and they put it out there and we can all see it. We've lost that Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like Disney buying Stranger Things right now and writing the last season, and they completely fuck it up. People will be like, no, what? Eddie's back? Eddie would never do something like that. Like, what the hell is going on? You're like, you know, welcome to how Star Wars fans have been feeling for the past fucking 10 years. Like, that's blatant to me. I don't know.
Yeah, because our most repetitive was J.J. fucking Abrams, and then we had a Rian Johnson, right? And not good. No, they arguably not good. But
we'd already seen too from Star Trek fans how they had felt about Star Trek. So he had a legacy of hardcore fans not liking him already. And then he came to Star Wars, and people like the Star Trek fans were looking at us like, first time.
Well, and then we've seen, at least for Rian Johnson, right? We've seen some evidence again of him doing other movies that have been very agreeable.
Yeah, I like Knives Out.
Yeah, who doesn't? Right? And they're gonna keep going. Right. And so for me it's like, so we don't have that wonderment, right, from an invested director's perspective. Well, James Cameron, again, these folks, right? Please, let's have some more movies before you, God bless you, before you have to go fade off into the sunset, right? Because once they're gone, right, it's so tough.
And
right?
something I have argued for a long time. So Steve says, I really miss the big picture cinematic movies. Dune had that feel. Last movie before that was 1917. Come on, Star Wars. Yeah, there's definitely this. It's not an old style of Hollywood, because the old style of Hollywood is something that not only could you not capture again, but it would feel very campy if you tried to do it in today's modern media. But there is this kind of new, massively cinematic feel that you can capture. And I think way ahead of its time, Revenge of the Sith did something like that. It was this massive scope feel. 1917 is still one of my favorite movies out there. I didn't think the continuous camera was necessary, but that was something that was absolutely amazing that they were able to even do that. Dune was very much in the same way. Something that was very important to that movie was the angles in which they shot. Even in the CG, they shot them as conventional camera angles in that movie, which is something that's awesome. It's that attention to detail that I really miss a lot. And so for me, something that I've always thought would be absolutely amazing is if Christopher Nolan sat down and made a Star Wars movie. I still think it would be amazing. And to my point, the people who were always asking for a more gritty Star Wars movie or a more seriously toned Star Wars movie would love a Christopher Nolan Star Wars movie. It would be very heady. It's going to be heady. I mean, look at Tenet, look at, just look at any Christopher Nolan movie. But look at how he handled the DC universe. People love the Dark Knight trilogy.
I love it. I would
love the Dark Knight trilogy.
I would love to see a Nolan Star Wars movie, but the problem is, what is his value? Using him as a specific example, what is his value proposition in doing a Star Wars movie?
Well, he would never.
Nobody else would either. That's the problem. No, there is zero value proposition.
Here's the value proposition. Fucking $6 million. Like, what is he even doing now? After Tenet, do we have any Nolan projects coming? Do we have anything like that? I mean, what happened with the DC universe? He would probably make a Marvel movie before he ever made a Star Wars movie. He'll never make a Marvel movie.
Nobody, here is my affirmation. Nobody wants to be the next director doing a Star Wars movie after Rise of Skywalker. Nobody wants to.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Well,
I'll do it for free. I'll take the next 4 years of my fucking life and do it for free. You hear me, Lucasfilm? I will do it for free. And you know what? If it's going to shut up one more grifter, great. That's going to serve your cause. I will do it for free.
Nobody wants to do it, and I really don't think Lucasfilm is looking very hard for anyone to do it, because if they really were, Spielberg would be the one, Cameron would be the one, right? It's not that they can't get these great directors to do a Star Wars movie. They're not looking.
Yeah, they're not looking to hire.
They're just not. And the people that they have tapped to do the movies.
That's going to be fucking good, dude.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for Oppenheimer.
Oh, dude, Oppenheimer's going to be good.
Dude, they have a great cast on that movie, and I cannot wait. But this is the problem, right?
Yeah.
all of these other movies that I've seen
right.
with wonderful directors that are doing well, they don't have this nonsense overhead. Nobody wants to make a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to touch it. A, there's a fucking 737 worth of baggage that comes along with the Star Wars franchise right now. B, I think you're creatively snared at the ankle when if you want to tell a certain kind of story, they're going to be like, no, that's not the story we want you to tell. I think that's more important than A. It's not the baggage. I think the problem really is the studio telling you, you can't tell that type of story. We want you to tell this type of story.
In my opinion, there is only one person on this earth at this point who could come back as a director and reboot the Star Wars movie franchise. You know
George
who it
Lucas?
is? George Lucas.
Duh.
And that's the problem.
Only if he was free of the creative cuckolds is not the right word. The creative shackles of the studio.
If Disney fucking JPEG, KK, whoever the fuck, right? If they
You really don't like JPEG.
I don't like him at all. But if they had any thought in their head at all in regards to how could they do this? How could we get Star Wars back on the big screen just to get it going again? They should, while he's still alive.
Yeah.
And able. They should go back to George Lucas and say, hey, bro, what about it?
So
we got the money, right?
That goes back to like what you said when it comes to, well, you know, that's fucking James Cameron. It's the same thing with Star Wars. If he comes back and writes a story, I don't even care. Legitimately, at this point, I don't care if it's like Care Bears dancing around magma on Mustafar. I'm like, George Lucas said there were a bunch of greenhouses on a street, and he painted his house white. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. I wanted a White House, and so I painted a White House. I'm like, good, then do that. You know what I mean? So I think before George goes, I think he's gonna have a swan song. I think he's gonna have a swan song.
For me personally, it's so absolutely obvious, right? If you wanna make that splash, right, and say, hey, Star Wars again on the big screen. Guess what? Guess who's doing it?
Yeah.
George motherfucking Lucas.
Give us one more to make us. But the problem is that, you know, I don't think Lucasfilm in its current state would ever let George one up the shit out of him on his way out. You know what I mean?
At this point, what is he one upping what? Right? Are we saying he would be one upping the Rise of Skywalker? The comparison now is years old. So what is he one upping? Rise of Skywalker?
One upping everything that's going on in Galaxy's Edge, everything in the Halcyon Star Cruiser.
That's a false equivalent, right? When we talk about him coming back as a swan song to make a movie, the only thing he could be compared against theatrically at this point is Rise of Skywalker.
He'd be doing it with a gun to the back of his head.
Why?
Because that's what Lucasfilm does.
That's what
dude, I bet you here's, and this could be speculation at this point, but I bet you if Robbie Rod had creative freedom, we would have gotten a better Boba Fett. If Deborah Chow would have had creative freedom, we would have gotten a better Kenobi.
I don't think that the reason why those stories didn't hit was because they didn't have creative freedom.
I don't think there were rewrites on Joby's script.
But I don't think that had anything to do with them directorially.
Okay, directorially writing, whatever the case may be, but who's going to write it? Who's going to write the movie that George would direct? George would write the wills as his swan song. He would write the wills.
At this point, I'm like, fine. Right, this is what I'm saying, right? If they wanted to be like, let's reboot this bullshit, If they even want, I don't think they want movies anymore, personally. But let's assume
It would not appear that way, no.
Let's assume for the moment that they want to have more Star Wars movies, right? Very simple to me, very, very easy to see. Okay, it's a Star Wars. George Lucas is still here. I don't know. His museum is about to open. That's fine, right? Let's do this, right?
It's almost like having the big three of Star Wars together and alive for the sequel trilogy and bringing them together. It's a no-brainer, right? Let's do this. Didn't happen. Steve.
To me, it's the same thing as bringing James Cameron back to do Avatar. It's the same thing as having Spielberg.
That was already a thing.
What I'm saying.
And George had treatments for the last three where Darth Maul was the villain. It was already done.
That all got fucked up, right?
You don't have to say it again, Matt. Don't say it again. Don't say it again. Okay, say it again if you want to say it again.
No, all I was going to say is I bet you he's got another movie in his ass, right? He can do one more something. Just because they didn't take his treatment for the sequels, okay, fine. Do we really think that's the last idea he had for the Star Wars universe?
No. So
that's why I'm saying, if you want to do it up right and you want to make a splash, one more. Let's get the band back together for one more George Lucas while all of his support cast is still at fucking Lucasfilm. Jesus fucking Christ, they're all still alive.
Yeah, in a perfect world. In a perfect world. They're not going to do it.
No, they're not.
How bad does that look on Disney if George comes back and he just knocks it out of the fucking park? How bad does that look on Disney? All the grifters saying you will never live up to George Lucas's name. We've been saying this shit forever, blah, blah, blah.
You know what? If they handle it right, it doesn't look bad at all. It looks
because they have a perfect track record when it comes to PR, don't they?
It looks like, hey, here we go. George is here. He's with us. Here's what we're doing. You know, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 whatever. Right? I'm like,
Felicity.
I know.
She got your ass.
No,
fuck George Lucas, baby, come back.
Listen, Linda, honey. What's up, Eli? I am still the guy who says fuck Lucas for selling the franchise. However, here we are in 2022. There are no movies. There hasn't been any movies since 2019. And that movie sucked, right? And that trilogy didn't go good, right? And nobody else wants to make a fucking Star Wars movie, right? So if you're looking for some way to reboot this motherfucker, for Christ's sake, bring George Lucas back.
What would he make? What would George make?
Don't know. That's the best thing about it. I have no idea what he would make.
If you had like a dream movie that you'd want him to make, what would it be?
I mean, for me personally, I would
The Diary of Tarkin.
I personally would love to see him make a movie that was still in the original trilogy timeframe. Right? I'm not looking for him to expand anything out, you know, past whatever they fucked up. Right? I came back. I would look for him to do something within the timeline that he established.
Would you want to see Heir to the Empire?
Sure. Something like that. Right? Something within that context.
I'm talking about like Black Robe, young Luke.
Absolutely.
On adventures.
Sure.
Yeah. The adventures of Luke Skywalker. Because clearly they've shown that they can do it, you know. I think it was a lot for people to try to absorb Luke when he was next to Grogu. I think there was a lot of CG going on there. There was a lot of effects, and people are like, I don't know about it. But look at the difference between Chapter 16 Luke and then Boba Fett Luke. And then imagine what they could do if they were going to do the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. If George wrote a series or whatever, or adapted whatever was written for Heir to the Empire, obviously, you know, loves on, but what do you think?
I mean, I'm just so much looking for Star Wars on the big screen again. So I'm totally reaching out. Everyone's in the chat.
You don't really care what it is at this point. You just want to see fucking you just want to see Star Wars on the big screen.
Everyone's like, "Oh, he's 80 years old and he's never going to do it," and blah blah. Yes, I get everything about that, right? I'm just saying at this point, right? The way we're going, we seem to never be getting another Star Wars movie ever again.
We're gonna get another one.
Who's going to do it?
I know that your liver thinks that we're not gonna make it to the next Star Wars movie, but I promise, you said 2025. You can make it 3 years.
Which movie is it? Which movie do you think we're getting in 2025?
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Rogue One. Rogue Squadron.
No. Not
Why?
2025.
Why?
It's not even in production. There is no Rogue Squadron movie right now. That's why I'm saying, in order to get a movie in 2025, any Star Wars movie, it needs to be in production right the motherfucking now.
How do we know that it's not?
It's not.
How do you know?
Are they hiding it away?
It could be 100%. How do you know?
Because it would have to be registered. There's the way these things work, right? They can't hide the fact they're producing a movie, right? Every one of their places to produce these things is in progress, making these motherfucking Disney Plus
with everything that they're filming right now, especially with the volume and stuff like that. How would you know if they were going to be if they were filming something for Book of Boba Fett season 2 or you know, Star Wars the Mandalorian butt play series? You have no idea. You have no idea. And then if they're shooting on scene, just do the old Blue Harvest trick and tell people that you're filming in Scandinavia for a movie called Blue Harvest 2.0. How are you going to know? You never know.
You're dreaming, dude. They are.
I'm a dreamer.
They are filming TV series only right now, and they are filming 0 movies. That's why I'm saying they would have to be at this moment. Actually, not Taika. Oh, I'm still writing about. They need to be filming this shit.
Get Taika out your mouth. We're not going to talk about Taika anymore.
But he's the. Okay, Kevin Feige's not doing one either.
No, Kevin Feige's not doing one.
And fucking what's her name on the Rogue Squad? She's not doing it either.
Patty Jenkins.
None of them. Right? So what movie do you think is secretly happening at this point? Right now, today.
Mando butt play. I told you. I'm sorry. I can't help myself.
That's why I'm saying there is 0 Star Wars movies going on right now. And
okay.
Even if they
all right. Hold on. Let's take a step back. Let's think about this. Let's gather everything that we've heard come out of Dark Lord Kennedy's mouth. Okay. We're gonna get all of these different shows that are gonna culminate in one big cinematic event, right?
Sure.
The Mando movie.
Okay.
The Mandoverse movie. 2025.
Yeah. That movie that they're talking about wouldn't start even filming until 2023, 2024, because every other series that's leading up to it is still going on at that point. That's what I'm telling you. We're not going to get a Star Wars movie until 2026, 2027. And at this point, who fucking cares? Even if it was 2025. Does anyone even care about a Star Wars movie anymore?
I
Nobody
do.
Fucking cares. By that point, it's 6 years
Stop saying nobody. I do.
After 6 years after the last Star Wars movie, who gives a shit anymore? Really?
You were that guy talking shit about the prequels.
No, I love the prequels. All I'm saying is, as much as I hate to say it, at this point, it's diminishing returns for them to release another movie. We're it's 2022, right? 29, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. As they continue to turn out Marvel movies, multiple movies every year, right? All of a sudden, another Star Wars. Who fucking cares?
Okay, so this is where I'm going to disagree. You can absolutely relight the fire in the Star Wars fan base, but what they would have to do would be something absolutely radical. And I'm talking the second you even mention a new movie coming out, it's Sith Wars, Jedi Wars, 10,000 lightsabers, like the gnarliest Star Wars movie you could ever. It would have to be so over the fucking top, they would never make it. You know what I mean? Essentially, you'd have to make an Old Republic, Sith Wars, or Mandalorian Wars movie. But if I were Disney, what I would do is I would tie in everything that's going on with Death Watch, everything that's going on with the True Mandalorians, everything that's gone on with the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian culture. You tie that into the Mandalorian Wars. You tell a story about the Mandalorian Wars, and that opens up your entire story group to start looking at stuff with Revan, Malik, everything that's going on in that really kind of untouched in the cinematic universe aspect of Star Wars. There's so much to touch, dude. There's endless stories to tell there. And it's stories that people are interested in hearing, because after Luke dies, nobody gives a fuck about Star Wars after that. Nobody gives a fuck about after Luke dies. It's like, oh, Rey, let's tell a story about Rey. Like,
no,
I don't trust Disney to do it.
So
I might trust a fan to do it, but I don't trust Disney to do it.
Oddly enough, X-Wing, I think you and I are on the same page here, right? I'm totally with you. All I'm saying is the culmination of any of these ideas cinematically and theatrically means no movie until 2026, 2027.
Oh, they couldn't do an Old Republic movie until 2030, probably. Yeah.
And so as much as we would love to have, at some point you have to say, so why bother? They've gotten along this far, so far, since 2019 and now, and the clock keeps ticking with no Star Wars movie, right? So what is...
God damn it, Steve.
What is the value proposition in them doing a movie at whatever time? Because again, it's going to be 2025 or later at this point.
So for me, I'm the wrong person to ask that, because I've as long as I've been alive, I've been like, well, why would you do that? Like, I don't know, fucking glory. Like, I'll try it. You have to remember, I'm a dude who strapped myself to fucking 2,000-pound bulls, and I was like, why are you doing that? What is your value proposition for that? Like, fuck, I don't know. It's gonna be awesome. Like, try it, you know? And if people don't like it, then, well, fuck, I don't know. People don't like it. Try it. Maybe tell some directors in Hollywood to grow a fucking pair of balls and take a shot at it.
To take a
that would be sick.
To take a play out of Obsession's playbook, right? I think they are hugely gun shy, right? After what happened with The Rise of Skywalker and the rest of it, they're kind of like, well, you know, we could do more movies, sure, but, you know, we're doing all these other things, and, you know, it seems to be working, and it's not as...
Does it seem to be working? Solely on views, apparently.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That's exactly the problem. It's like, what motivates them? What motivates them to do another movie? What's Felicity have to say?
Lucasfilm give fans pie until the... I had a tough time reading that. Lucasfilm give fans pie in the sky until Kathleen Kennedy leaves. Disney Plus gives them cover from scrutiny. Claim success behind the paywall because we can't prove anything. that's been a huge topic of conversation, is that they've done a really good job of being sly about the metrics. There's only one metric that they pay attention to, and it's who buys the tickets at the door, not how they liked it when they walk out. That's the big thing. And that's wrong. That's wrong. Felicity, thank you so much for the 5. I appreciate you. Good to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your generous contribution to
X-Wing.
Thank you.
Good to see my girl Felicity in here. I gotta go rip the ears off of Bantha. I'm gonna be right back. Please go nuts.
Okay, I'm still here. And so what I was gonna say before you left, right? Still here. Is
okay, I'm leaving.
What are you doing? When we had the Star Wars movies and all that stuff coming out, we didn't have all the rest of this, right? We didn't have a lot of Marvel movies competing. We didn't have the Disney Plus and the online and all these other things, right? It was a very different time, right? And so thank you, Ronnie, appreciate it. And so now it's very different, right? There's so many other ways in which people engage with this content. That's why I say I am personally. Hey, Dawn, good to see you. I'm personally of the opinion, if they never made another Star Wars movie again, as much as I would hate to have that happen, it really wouldn't surprise me. Right, because we proved as a fandom we don't need Star Wars movies. Isn't that sad? Right, even whether we like Thor: Love and Thunder or not, right? They keep putting these Marvel movies out in the theater. Right, the last Star Wars movie I saw in the theater was a re-release of Rogue One, for Christ's sake. Right, it's just so unfortunate, but I don't know what the motivation is for them to make more Star Wars movies. I really don't. Really don't.
Money?
Is it money?
Ooh,
Do they need?
Well,
Do they need? You know what I mean? It's like I don't. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't know. They don't seem, if money was the motivation, they would be working harder to have put another Star Wars movie out by now.
what other motivation do they have? What does Disney exist for? What does Lucasfilm exist for at this point? I mean, I understand it existed to tell a story from George when ILM and THX and all that stuff was created, but other than that, after being acquired, as soon as a company is bought, the motivation is money. You're not buying it to continue a legacy. You're buying it to make money.
No, 100%.
If you're smart, you should continue the legacy, but they're not.
I 100% agree with you, right? But it seems to me that at this point, they may have proven that they can make money sufficiently well on Star Wars without putting another movie out. That's my point.
Andor's probably not going to bring in a whole bunch of new subs,
I don't think so.
but it's probably going to be a really good story.
I agree.
But if the Star Wars fan base buzzes about Andor, it might bring in new subs.
In which case it perpetuates being able to bring in new folks into Star Wars without having a movie. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
So do you think the only way for Star Wars to recover is to start putting movies out?
I don't know that it's the case of recovery versus unrecoverable. But I feel like we've gotten to that point where, it's like that. We're so gun shy, right? We didn't do it. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. And now we're kind of like, Okay, well, we didn't do it. We don't need to do it anymore. Right? We can take that. Skeleton Crew apparently.
It become comfortable.
Skeleton Crew apparently has got $136 million budget, right? Because they had a tax credit, so it was published for the first time ever. It was published, these tax credits for California. Skeleton Crew has a $136 million budget. Okay, that approximates a movie. So they get 6 episodes out of it, I'm assuming. We don't know how many episodes Skeleton Crew has. When it comes right down to it, that's a better value proposition for them. Right? So I'm like, so I don't.
Fuck. You're right.
We seem to have moved past the necessity for a Star Wars movie anymore. And so that's why I'm kind of like,
that's going to be the death of it then, though, because people will stop giving a shit about the shows.
I mean, as long as the shows are lackluster, perhaps, right? But for me, it's like I've just moved past it, right? I'm like, I don't expect another Star Wars movie. I
ever.
Emotional damage.
I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but I don't.
There's just no way that Star Wars never goes back to the big screen. There's simply, all right, chat, somebody back me up here. What you guys let me know. There's 30 people in here. So, certainly somebody has an idea about whether or not Star Wars is gonna make it back onto the big. In my mind, there is no possible universe that we're not going to see Star Wars back on the big screen. That's just my thought. I could be nuts here, but dude, COVID's over. COVID's over. Restrictions are down. I think a lot of what you were saying is true, where they definitely shied in. From a financial standpoint, I think it makes sense from what you're saying. But beyond that, there was no need or want to make it because nobody would go to the movies, right? COVID's out.
But COVID's over, and movies are coming out of folks who have been making movies since before COVID, and even now, since COVID happened, movies have been being made and they've been released, except not Star Wars. What is the excuse? What is the fucking excuse?
They have 9 fucking TV shows in production right now.
Right, because they are not committed to putting Star Wars on the big screen. So why do we think that all of a sudden, okay, yeah, Star Wars, sure. Again, if they were making a Star Wars movie right now, today, at this moment, which they're not, it wouldn't be released until 2025. Because they have, why? Because they have all these other things going on, whether it's Indiana Jones, whether it's fucking Avatar, whether it's all, they have these releases already slotted, and they don't want to compete with themselves. So why do we think I don't get it.
So here's my take. This is my take, and I'm just going to ramble off on this one, but I think I'm correct here. And Evan Martin, it'll happen. It might fail, but it'll happen. Hopefully it's not a failure. Here's what I think. This is my conspiracy theory in my mind about what's going on behind the dark doors at Lucasfilm. I think what they're doing is they're taking the time to establish characters on Disney Plus for us to give a fuck about the next movie that's going to come out. Because right now, if a movie came out, what are they going to make a movie about? Rogue Squadron, maybe it lands, maybe it doesn't. Okay, whatever. But if they spend 6 years, 10 years building up characters on Disney Plus that most people get invested in, and then you put a movie out that is a big cinematic experience about these characters that we spent 10 years with, much like George did, right? They spent all this time creating these characters, and then we got all these different comics, we got these different cartoon shows, we became really invested in all these characters that they created. When it finally gets to the big screen and we get these big stakes, that's when they put the money in, and that's when they lay the cards on the table for their characters, not for George's characters, but for what Disney has created, not for what George created, even though it's his universe.
Okay.
I'd buy that for a $2 bill.
Yeah, so again, what you're saying is maybe after they culminate these series in 2023, 2024, which is happening on Disney Plus, and they're like, okay, that needs to culminate into a cinematic, then maybe there's going to be something. But again, they need to be working towards it, right? They need to be filming it. They need to be working on it. So now you're talking about 2026, 2027.
I'm calling it like 27, 28 when we finally get that big Mandoverse movie, which is what it's going to be. It's going to be the Mandoverse movie. And I'm thinking, yeah, 27, 28, likely release for it.
So for me, the question is, what is
you said never again, motherfucker?
Listen, I'm getting there. So for me, if that's the case, what is their motivation for making that a cinematic experience on the movies versus saying, you know what, we're going to culminate this into another 6-episode series on Disney Plus, right? Why do they think at that point they should put it on the big screen? Because every evidence they've had between now and then is people's just watching the shit on Disney Plus. What is that reason for culminating on the big screen? Because they're like, whoops, why not? I mean, just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, the reason I would say they would do that is because when you have a major cinematic release, first off, you get the ticket numbers from God knows how many theaters, right? You can't just get a Disney Plus subscription and you can buy that and whatever that is. I don't know how those numbers shake out, but every time somebody goes to watch the movie, you get essentially 2 Disney Plus subscriptions when they go to the theater. What your actual revenue is off of that ticket, not 1,000% sure, to be honest with you. I don't really know. But if it's a banger and they're back again, you're making 2 to 3 times as much money as you would from a subscription just from people going to the theater. Beyond that, if you have a cinematic release, that's going to get a lot more press and a lot more TV time than a Disney Plus show. This is the bottom line. I mean, look at how many ads did we get for Maverick on TV and on streaming services where people were saying, you got to go see this movie. You got to go see this movie. And people who'd never seen Top Gun in the first place, people who'd never seen the Disney original trilogy in the first place that were like, oh, fuck, I want to see that movie. That looks good. If you stay on Disney Plus and you don't have a massive ad campaign, then people aren't really going to be that interested in it. But if you create this huge buzz around a cinematic release that's like the return of Star Wars after Rise of Skywalker, that has this backing, this big fan base of people who've been backing the series and generally accepted by Star Wars fans, I think it could be successful in a major cinematic release.
I guess for me personally, I feel like they've moved, at this point, they've moved past their ability to come back and say, here's the next best thing, since you know what I mean? And I know it seems a bit weird because there was such a huge amount of time between, them finishing or us experiencing the original trilogy and or the prequels, again, the way that they did it, but and then the sequels, right? So I get that there was obviously a time period there, but now I don't feel then there was no fill-in on TV, right? Then there was only movies, right? And so there was a huge hype and a huge build of oh my gosh, when are we gonna get the next Star Wars thing or whatever? You just had the prequel, we had the prequels, and now sequels, blah blah. They've taken away that build up by filling in the fact that, okay, it doesn't matter. We have this streaming platform now, and look at the Mandalorian now, and all these other things, and Kenobi, and everything that's going on. And so I'm like, it's not the same. It isn't the same surrounding circumstances now than it was when all we had was movies. Now I'm kind of like, I don't, as much as I would love to see Star Wars again on the big screen, I don't get what the reason is for them to move there.
Because you still can't beat, no matter what you do, you still can't beat the uptick of the public eye. Bottom line, you can't beat the uptick of the public eye. So as many people as there are subscribed to Disney Plus, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people are not subscribed to Disney Plus, but they want to go see a movie. Those hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of thousand people who don't have Disney Plus see this awesome new Star Wars movie coming out. Holy shit, this looks amazing. And they buy a ticket.
Do you really think those people are waiting for the next Star Wars movie?
I don't think they're waiting for it. That's the thing, is that they're not big Star Wars fans, but they're like, oh shit, hey, look at that. I mean, look at what happened with Star Trek, right? They're like, oh, well, I don't know shit about Star Trek, but wow, this Wrath of Khan movie looks cool. We'll go, was it called the Wrath of Khan? No, Wrath of Khan was the old one. It was, I think it was just called Khan or something.
It was called Into the Darkness, and it was not even clear that Khan was in it, right? But you know, for me,
Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I still love him, by the way. But this is where I'm like, I wish I knew more about what their value proposition was, right? But for me, just on the outside looking in, I personally feel like we may never see another Star Wars movie.
You're so fucking wrong. You also said fuck George Lucas the other day.
I'm sorry.
Say something again. Say something.
But
say something again.
But fuck George Lucas too, right? I feel like we're in a very strange situation right now, which is Lucasfilm seems to be quite content to give us Star Wars content,
subpar Star Wars content,
on the small screen, right? As Disney Plus series. And it seems to be successful from the way in which we determine success these days.
They know that it's not successful. Don't sell yourself short. They know that it's not succeeding. By clicks, maybe. By doctored reviews, maybe. But you are out of your fucking mind if you don't think that there's a discussion going on at Lucasfilm saying, we're not doing something right. We have to fix something. Do you really think in any boardroom meeting over everything, everybody's saying, oh my God, y'all, this is strippers and burritos. We are just pouring money. Everything is doing great. The Star Cruiser's fucking nailing it. Galaxy's Edge is just a fucking money-making machine, y'all. We are just fucking killing it right now. Do you think that's what's going on at the Lucasfilm board meetings?
Kinda.
I'm going to go get a beer.
He left again. Oh, I see how he's leave me. But you know, for me, it's like I don't, as much as we might be disquieted by the content that we're getting as diehard, old school, sweaty Star Wars fans, right? I'm still really struggling to rationalize why they feel like we need more Star Wars movies. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I really don't. And I'm like, you know, it's just, it seems to be a sign of the times for me. It really is. You know, Beskar Man 38. I don't know what to tell you, bro. You know what I mean? It's you know, we need to kind of open our eyes a bit and look at what's going on, right? And understand where we are and where we're going. And I just don't think it's Star Wars movies.
There's
You
your
don't.
metric right there. If a movie does $1 billion, Disney clears 50. 500 mil. If they release direct to Disney Plus, they keep 100. That's $30 rental fees plus influx of sub revenue. Look, if I was doing a business, what would you pick? It's a strong argument.
I'm going to continue to pick Disney Plus.
Yeah, rough.
Right, and that this is kind of unfortunately sort of making the point I've been saying, which is we live in a different time now. You know, we don't live in that time where movies. It has to be movies. We sort of live in that time now where movies are secondary, and it's so weird.
Unless they hit, though. I mean, again, look at the rehashes on Top Gun, which just sold like crazy. Look at Ghostbusters, that sold like crazy. That's pretty much the only two movies I can think of.
So you picked a couple of, to me, maybe are they repeatable? Right? Are those examples repeatable, or are those two and dones, or one and dones twice? You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah. Lightning in a bottle.
Do we think that can happen again?
Well, I wouldn't want to see a Top Gun 3, and I don't want to see a Ghostbusters 17. So what am I supposed to do, man? What am I supposed to do? I've got thousands upon thousands of dollars of collectibles in my room. I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I don't know what the fuck to do.
So here's what I have to say about that.
Should I be happy? Should I be upset? Should I just quit my YouTube channel? Should I start making a bunch of videos about how fucking mad I am about it? Like, what do we do? What do you do?
It comes right down to, do we determine, or do we think that our love and continued enjoyment of this franchise is predicated on the fact that there's going to be more Star Wars movies, right?
No, I don't predicate my love off of production of movies. No.
So I think we can be very happy or moderately happy going forward if they give us good content on Disney Plus in the form of series and all the rest of it. My whole ramble on this most recent conversation is about my personal belief that we're not getting any more Star Wars movies. Do I care about that as a Star Wars fan?
Seems like you do.
Do I think, well, I love movies, right? But do I think that's going to then say, you know what? Fuck this shit. You know, if I never get another Star Wars movie again, I'm burning all my Star Wars Legos and I'm done with this shit, and I'm going to be, I'm going to become some other kind of, no, I'm not. I don't fucking care at this point. Right? Because for me, getting another Star Wars movie right now is, I'm about losing my concern about it. Right? It's been 3 years. Okay, whatever. Right at this point, I'm kind of like, because at this point I know it's going to take another 2 years. So I'm like, fuck it. If it happens, it happens. Don't happen, I gotta take whatever's coming.
What would be if the next movie was going to come out and it was going to make you happy? What would it be?
And so, thanks, Steve. And so for me personally, right, I would love to have
a Lego Star Wars movie.
No, not a Lego Star Wars movie. I would love to have a movie between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I would love to have something else in that time frame.
Yeah.
And I know
Star Wars time frame.
Yeah, I know that's a tough one because I freeze. Can you still hear
he's
me?
so freezy.
Can you still hear me?
This boy's ice cold because he's frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I see my face is frozen.
You look very intrigued in something.
Yeah, I don't know why. And so, no, but for me, it's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I think there's so many great stories they could tell there that we
I
would
agree.
love.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, that was a turning point in everything. Steve Terranca, do you have Mexican Iron Man's profile picture?
Why did Mexican Iron Man show up?
Yeah. Wow.
That is
I'm
very
out, boys.
strange.
That's cultural appropriation. Just letting you know.
How did that
I'm out, boys. Good combo. Team movies. Just make them good. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Oh my. Well, I
That's
guess I'll
okay.
be Mexican Iron
We
Man.
were rolling to the end of this thing, anyways. We've been
All right,
going
that's
for
because I
2
can't-
hours and 35 minutes. Moff Rissman has
Hola!
appropriated Latin
all.
culture. It's disgusting. I'm sorry. I tried to keep these things clean, but Rissman just gets out of control right about
I don't know how it happened.
like 2 o'clock in the morning. He just gets so
Arriba!
frisky. You know what I mean? See? You know what I mean? Disgusting. 2022, man. Come on. All right. I'm just kidding. Everybody, have a beautiful night. Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out with us. That was a lot of fun. Boy, we covered some fucking ground tonight, Rissman.
I know, right?
Just another wonderful late night. Don't expect these to go anywhere. These are going to be popping up here and there. I don't have a set schedule on them. So everybody have a good night. Thank you so much. I hope today finds you well. I hope tomorrow finds you even better. My name is X-Wing. I love all of y'all for showing up tonight. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one, okay? May
Thanks
the
for
force
being here, all.
be with you.
Take care.
Always.
Bye.